Straight ahead on Racing Around the World, brought to you by HPI Bet. The 3-year-olds continue on that Kentucky Derby trail. This time we're off to Aqueduct, Tampa Bay Downs, and Santa Anita Park. It's opening weekend across the pond from Newbury. Don't worry, we've got you covered. And Chad and I will resume our little bet battle under the lights from Woodbine, Mohawk Park. It is now time to go racing around the world. Welcome back once again. He is Chad. I'm Jason. We've got producer Luke frantically pressing buttons behind the scenes, making this show happen. And Chad, we march into a new month. But before we do that, let's look back to last weekend. That 3-year-old sensation, man, he is something else.
Essential quality. If you're Brad Cox, how giddy are you right now? I mean, well on your way to your first Derby appearance and likely to have the favorite, depending on what happens going forward. But if last weekend's any indication, my goodness, he's going to be a tough one. Jackie's Warrior, on the other hand, I know you and I were trying to use him as the upsetter. Not to be. He's maybe got to rejig his plans and think about cutting back.
Yeah, just did not look good. Just did not look good. Make no mistake. Essential quality indeed. All right. More memories to make coming up this weekend. As per always on HPI Bet, it is BUSY. Yeah, very, very busy. And the thing that I like checking out the Friday, Saturday, Sunday sked, Chad, is that I'm seeing some new racetracks in the mix.
Yeah, and you know what? It's the time of year. Some new tracks are starting to open as well, and we have got you covered with variety. Great mix, of course, with the thoroughbred and the harness action, even some quarter horse into the mix. But you know what? You can basically turn on HPI at any point in the day or night, and we've got you covered with something to play along with. And then Saturdays, that was always my favorite day to play, and for good reason. Great tracks, great races, just the premier day, right? And we've just got so many stakes to get into, and then it carries right on until Sunday as well.
Yeah, and the good news is, to add to it, rave reviews from our HPI Bet customers now that we're officially the North American hub of the Japanese Racing Association. So whether it's very late at night into the wee hours of the early morning or just the conventional early morning, a lot going on right here on this network. And speak of a lot going on, speaking of that, Chad, I mean, we always talk about that $100,000 guaranteed early pick 5, but what about that jackpot high 5 continuing to swell?
Yeah, continuing to swell. Haven't heard anything about a mandatory payout just yet, but we know when we start to get into that six figures, you start hearing whispers. So we'll see. Great graded stakes action this weekend. Saturday is jammed with it, of course, Derby preps, but even Kentucky Oaks preps, and California, New York, Florida, and then even into Sunday, Santa Anita continues the big weekend for them, Jason. But that Saturday card from California, I think, has got us pretty excited.
Oh, and look at this number, $734,000, that pick 6 carryover, mandatory payout. And hey, oh, by the way, we've got the Kilrow as the 4th leg, perhaps the race of the year. And then the 5th leg, the big cap. And then the finale as well as part of the mix. So, yeah, I mean, definitely keep your eyes on Cali this weekend.
Yeah, and if that pick 6 doesn't go on the Friday card, well, we know that number is going to be even bigger. So we saw this not too long ago, Santa Anita, with that mandatory payout on Saturday. It'll be in the millions. So great opportunity for the horse players to get in on some big cash.
Let's begin in New York. We got the Gotham Stakes, the little prep for the Wood. 50 points on the line as we take you to Ozone Park, New York. Jamaica, New York, take your pick. It's a flat mile, it's one turn. We've got 8 horses in the mix, including a Canadian bred that we should perhaps keep an eye on when it comes time for our big race, the Queen's Plate. That is a Chiefswood Stables Weyburn. But we got a horse in here by the name of Highly Motivated, who's not only making Chad his 2021 debut, but his graded stakes unveiling as well.
Yeah, off that dominating Nyquist win on the November 6th program, part of that Breeders' Cup Day. And, you know, for Highly Motivated, this is just a great spot for him to start because it's just a one-turn mile. It's not going to be all that taxing. It's obviously going to be well within his range, and I just think it's a nice way to kind of dip his toes into that 3-year-old season before things start to get a little bit serious. And on top of it, if he happens to win, well, you get a nice 50 points to go with it. But another one that I think is going to enjoy this one-turn mile is a Bob Baffert shipper. Freedom Fighter is his name. He's a great speed horse. He's going to have a long run right from the gate to be able to impose his speed on the field. And here he is in the most recent. This was the Grade 2 San Vicente at Santa Anita on February the 6th. On the lead, I mean, he was 5-1. I know it was a shorter field, but I'll tell you what, he gave the stablemate Concert Tour, who Baffert talks very highly of, you made him work for it. And, all in all, a really good effort from him. And, I mean, he's going to have to deal with, obviously, highly motivated in here, Jason. But for me, Freedom Fighter, I think has got a great opportunity to grab that early lead, maybe get some high cruising speed, and be able to kind of out-sprint highly motivated who's making his first start of the year. So I'm willing to give that Baffert horse a shot. Just got to think the race sets up well for him.
We're going to hear from Bob coming up a little bit later on in the program, and he's not a huge proponent of shipping, but he's got it. He's got so many 3-year-olds. You can't have them all run against one another when points especially are at a premium. For me, I've got this horse as my Derby pick right now in terms of the futures. I got him at 24-1. I like highly motivated. I think he comes into the race in great shape. He's got my second favorite, Chad, as his trainer, talking about Brown, obviously. And to me, I think he's got a chance to build on what he's been able to do most recently. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do for the first time as a 3-year-old. Now, how will he stretch out? It's still just one turn. It's a flat mile. I think he ends up in the catbird seat. I think there's some good speed that's going to be percolating up front. Freedom Fighter comes to mind. Capo as well. So I think highly motivated could be in a really good position. I'll take that horse on top. Let's move on. Talk about another 3-year-old prep, this time off to Florida. You mentioned it earlier. Weather might be a factor at Tampa Bay Downs. We're going to find out and how that could perhaps thicken the plot. There is a look at the field. No surprise, it's headlined by Candyman Rocket, the winner last time of the Sam Davis. That day he was 3-1. I don't think you get anything close to that this time around, but I know you, always looking for value. Where is it?
Well, it's Pletcher. Are you surprised? I'm going with the Pletcher horse in Florida. And Candyman Rocket, I mean, yeah, he'll be the favorite in here. I think, you had him on top in that most recent in the Sam F. Davis, and I think he was 10-1 morning line, if I'm not mistaken, in that race. But post position 9, Unbridled Honor, the Gray Son of Honor code, 20-1 morning line. To me, you know what? Don't sleep on this guy. In that most recent, here he is getting into the mix. I mean, it's really anybody's race at this point. It's just a maiden special weight on February the 6th. But look at him. He's bottled up behind horses. He wants to go forward. He's the favorite in here. They're expecting him to go forward, but he just didn't initially have any kind of room. Once he got it, look at the stride. I think he's just doing a great job here, reaching for racetrack, and ends up getting the win along the inside. I thought it was a really good effort. So he's going to come in here off a career best buyer of 77. He's going to come in with some confidence. I know he added Lasix in that start, and he won't have it today, so I hope that doesn't hold him back. But I like him. I think this guy has got long shot ability. I mean, Candyman Rocket, can he do it again? He's going to be the clear favorite in here, but I think this race is very, very wide open.
100. I'm with you. I mean, I struggled. I think the race came up really soft, and Candyman Rocket, okay, he's just kind of an obvious in the field, but you know what? There's a horse that comes out of that same race who just didn't get the trip, was kind of bottled in down on the inside, and then, didn't switch leads through the lane. He actually looked kind of green. I know that it was just his first try over the Tampa Strip. Talking about Hidden Stash, goes back to his regular rider of Rafael Bejarano. They're going to reunite. I think this horse just develops a little bit off of that opener. He's a nice little price opposition. Just a bit of a different look if you're looking for one. Just a viable horse in Hidden Stash. So keep an eye on that one. All right, let's keep the action going. Off to Santa Anita in California. Another 3-year-old Derby Trail race. Another 50 points on the line. The 83rd edition of the Bob Baffert San Felipe. I say that because Bob's looking for a record 8th win in this race. And he's got a pair in here that look like formidable foes.
Yeah, and many are going to make a case for either one of them to be the top finisher in here. Morning line odds really favoring Life is Good. The undefeated Life is Good, 4-5 in the morning line odds in there. But some are going to try and beat him. I know that. If you want to look at some other possibilities, we've got a horse coming in here off just one start. impressive, though. Dream Shake is his name. Son of Twirling Candy that Peter Urton's going to send down. I know it's a big ask, obviously, going from a maiden special weight now into a graded stake, but Life is Good did it. Who knows? Maybe Dream Shake is just this good. 96 buyer. Look at the move that he makes. I mean, he was well off of it early on, but then just continues to make that, advancing movement here under Joel Rosario. And then when they come to the head of the lane, he will just pull away from them and win by nearly 5. That was carrying 124 pounds. He actually gets a break in that. He's down to 120 this week. But I love the performance from him here in this spot. And I know, he's got to stretch out now for the first time. And he's got the graded stakes company and facing graded winners. But you don't know how good you are until you tackle them, right? And Dream Shake could be one of those horses. I think there'll be some that are like, you know what, I might take a shot on him. But that being said, I'm not. I'm going to go to the heavy favorite. Life is Good in this spot. I just love the way that he has looked. Tough not to. I know some are going to argue and say, you know what, the stablemate Medina Spirit got a little close to him, maybe a little too close for comfort. Last time out, closing into him, I don't think he was all out. I really feel that Mike Smith was just sort of sitting aboard. Baffert, as you say, he's won this race before. He actually took this exact same path with Authentic last year, and we know what he went on to do. So we'll see if this one, plays out the same way as that guy. But Life is Good. What a talent he is. I'm going to go with him to keep the undefeated streak going.
You're right. Mike Smith said the horse just got bored and fell asleep, and then his rival nearly nipped him. In that race, actually, a second quicker than Authentic when he won the race last year, and of course went on to win the Derby and the Classic. I'm going to go Medina Spirit. I'm going Medina Spirit. I really feel like, this horse can sit a little bit. We're going to hear from Baffert in a second. I really feel like, John Velasquez, he shipped there because he was going to be riding some other horses. He lands in a really live spot, in my opinion. I think he stalks. I think he's going to have speed to chase. Is he going to be able to grab Life is Good? We don't know. But I know he's going to offer a little bit more value on the board. And if that's the case, Medina Spirit to me is a viable option. So Baffert obviously holding some strong cards in this one. I had a chance to speak with him earlier this week, Chad, and he spoke of the last start, that victory in the Bob Lewis, a gutsy effort by Medina Spirit. And he also talked about the fact that he's running these guys head to head.
When you're on the rail, you sort of can't really just give it away, and so I told him just jump him out of there, and he could work himself out. And next thing you know, he couldn't. He was stuck there, and he kept the position, but he was really gutty. Came back, and he doesn't really want to run. He's more effective just off the pace, stalking a little bit. So I expect a big effort from him. I mean, he's going to be really tough too. I really hate to run those two together. And it's going to be a good race. I mean, that's probably the toughest prep that we're going to see, because you've got the great one. He's came up and broke his maiden really impressively. He's tough. Peter Urton's horse broke his maiden, got a big high buyer, and so it's going to be. There could be some hearts broken. I just hope it's not us.
Baffert, Chad, even doing a little bit of handicapping for us.
I love it. And, one thing I'll say is, Life is Good. He's kind of that flashy horse, right? But the stablemate, he's that fighter. And he, Roman Centurion, who I took in the Robert B. Lewis, raced fantastic. And he might even end up being my Derby horse come Derby Day. We'll see, because I think he's a horse that's just going to love more and more distance. But Medina Spirit, he impressed me very, very much in that last race. Just to face the pressure, face, the pace that he was on, turn them away and still dig in for the win. Gutsy effort from him.
One last word on these two horses of Baffert. He said likely after this race, they will separate. Somebody will go to the wood just to get them on different tracks. Just because, as talked about, points are precious. Concert Tour, I think, is the other horse he's got in the Rebel coming up, he said, next week as well. So Bob Baffert, nice problem to have. Let's move on in terms of Santa Anita. I mean, what a card. You got the Kilroe as well. I mean, look at this field, Chad. You said it to me earlier this week, might be the race of the year. I agree. I don't think anybody in here should be lower than 7-2 at best.
It's fantastic, and I've heard others say that too. That at this point, just looking like the race of the year, wide open. We've got a couple of locals that we can kind of root for as well. The Ontario bred, the Samson Farm home bred count again in there. Morning line favorite is 7-2, and that is Ride a Comet. And the fan I am of Ride a Comet. I mean, he obviously had the issues that delayed his career or halted his career, we'll say. But since coming back, he's been great. And to me, my favorite thing about this horse, Jason, how he looks. My goodness, one of the best looking horses I've ever seen on the track.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stunning. Very stunning. Very stunning. And you know what? This race for me has no wrong answers going in. No Lasix. That's a key for a bunch of horses, right? Like, how are they going to, fare, right? Are some of these horses just good with Lasix, and now that they're not on it? I'm going to go Flavius, by the way. How can you not go Flavius with Flavian riding? Pratt and Flavius for me. Right. Again, I'm going to Chad Brown. Big Cap. Let's move on there next, because that will be the penultimate leg for those of you endeavoring into that mandatory pick six. And perhaps it gets a little bit easier this time around with this leg because the presence of one undefeated Maxfield.
And how good is Maxfield? I mean, we can read and hear what the connections think, but you never know until you do it. But he's done everything right so far. We know he was obviously held back, but I know there are, again, handicappers out there, and I don't know exactly what I would do here, Jason, because he's going to get bet down. He's the favorite. And some are going to say, even though he's won graded stakes and a grade one, he hasn't beat a whole lot. This is obviously his toughest test to date, and they're going to try and get an inflated price on somebody else. But I don't know, Maxfield, we might look back on this months down the road and say, remember when we were questioning whether Maxfield was, clearly the best in here? And he might just go on to be a superstar, because I think he is a superstar in making. But nobody's gone a mile and a quarter. We've got one in here who's gone a mile and a half that has the experience, at least going far, and that's Tis a Magician, finished second in that. But it's big question marks for the rest of them. But Maxfield, again, when he's on the track, he just does things perfectly.
Yeah, I'm with you, Maxfield. I'm not going to try to beat this horse. I did last time out. That was stupid on my part. Although I am intrigued by Express Train, perhaps the sheriff's horse, just to get a piece of that pie. All right, well, we've talked a lot of North American action. Now let's head across the pond, part of the Cheltenham Festival. We're looking forward to that. And we've got a brand new partner on tap with us here at HPI Bet, as Racing TVI will join us. Of course, they've got all kinds of action at Cheltenham, Sandown, Newbury, and we're looking forward to it. And we're going to talk about that coming up right now. Yes, indeed. The countdown continues. The pomp, the pageantry, but most of all, the public. We miss the public. Soon enough, we'll have crowds like that back at all the racetracks. Here's a look at what you can catch courtesy of Newbury, and it all culminates with that Great Wood Gold Cup. Earlier this week, I had a chance to speak with Racing TVI commentator Jess Stafford. Picked her brain on this meet, which comes up this weekend. Jess, welcome to the program. Great to have you on. Two of my favorite words in all of sports, opening weekend. You must be thrilled.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to be watching racing at Newbury. It's my local track. I love Newbury. It's had some bad luck over the last couple of months with terrible bad storms. Abandoned one of their main fixtures a month ago. We've had better weather over this side, and it's going to be good ground and a lot of nice, exciting horses runs of 2 days. So a lot to fill you in on.
Speaking of which, for our HPI Bet customers that might be newbies when it comes to Newbury. What should we be watching for?
Very specifically very stiff fences, which means it takes no prisoners. You've got to jump well. Your horse mustn't be coming into this off the back of any issues with ping. And I think that's going to be really important when you're handicapping this card. Make sure that your horse is coming in primed and fit. A couple of stats for you. A very prolific jockey this side, Richard Johnson. He has a 30% strike rate at the racecourse this season with 6 winners from 20 rides. Trained to follow, he has a 50% strike rate at the track with his runners. He has 1 horse on Saturday at Newbury, first race, and the horse is called Not a Role Model. It's a name that you won't be forgetting.
We're going to put you on the spot here. I want a banker, perhaps a roughie. Who do you like? Maybe even from the big one, the Gold Cup.
Well, yes, as you say, the feature race of the day is called the Bet Victor Greatwood Gold Cup, and it's a grade 3 event. And the champion trainer-elect, Paul Nichols, has trained 5 of the last 8 winners of this race. He's famed in the National Hunt ranks for training some of the best chasers we have seen in the 21st century. He has 2 runners in this year's renewal, and ratings-wise, Capeland is the best horse in the race, but he has to put a poor run last time behind him, and his other horse, Grand Sansi, is going off absence. So I like the horse going to play. He's called Another Crick. This 8-year-old is having his 3rd run back off a long layoff. He was a winner over this trip in February 2019 at the track, which is crucial. And he comes into this on a good weight, and he'll likely be a good place price at odds of around 12 to 1. So that's my each way play pick for the Greatwood Gold Cup.
Appreciate that, Jess. She also went on to say that she loves Everton. Just joking. She's a Chelsea supporter, so her and I are going head-to-head. Everton travels to Chelsea on Monday. I like Umbragato, by the way, in terms of the Gold Cup. And Chad, hey, the internet, right? Sometimes you get a little bit of interruption there, so we apologize for the technical difficulty there.
Hey, she's way across the pond, but I'll tell you what, racing around the world, we know things will get back to normal. I just think once we do get back to normal, I think it's only fair that you and I should travel around the world just to kind of get familiar with some of these other venues.
I like your thinking. I like your thinking. I like your what?
Sam?
What's that I hear? What's that I hear? Oh yeah!
The 40
It's
playlist.
that time once again. The old bet battle, courtesy of 2 ugly numbers. Now, in your defense, your horse got scratched, so that returns 0. That's a little bit harsh. Your tickets were actually all null and void. But anyways, that was last week. Let's focus in on race number 3 coming up Saturday night. You and I will be on the program, as talked about with Monique. What are you working with as we wrap things up?
You know what? I'm not going to say that we picked the best race on right. Saturday, but we picked a good wagering race, right? We picked a good wagering race. There's obviously some great races on Saturday, but for me, in race number 3 is where we're going to go, Jay. There's a horse that caught my eye last week in his Mohawk Park debut, Butter Bay Hanover, for Vic Putty, who's had a good start to the 2021 campaign. Off of the pace, gapped at the start, rallied on well to be 3rd. There was an easy winner and better be going. He's got early speed. He is a horse that I believe is going to show that speed this time around, now that he's got that start under his belt. So everything revolves around Butter Bay Hanover. I like him over the class-dropping Major Hill, so I'll just do an easy try, 6-2 all, 6 all 2. That's $14. How about another $5 exact to 6-2? I got 6 left. Let's just toss it on the 6. So everything revolves around McClure and Butter Bay Hanover. McClure, you listening?
I'm listening. I struggled so mightily with this race. I asked my daughter, I asked my wife. I just don't know. I don't like the race, but I'm contractually obligated to pick somebody. I'm going to go Major Hill. I'm going to put $20 to win on Major Hill. Then I'm going to throw him on top over 5 horses, $1 exact. There's a look, 1, 3, 4, 6, and 9. I don't like the race. It could be a lot of fun to play if you can figure it out, but it's tough. It is really tough. So that's it for an action-packed edition of Racing Around the World. Men, we covered a lot of ground.
This is an exciting weekend, and it's just getting more and more. I mean, I'm looking ahead at some of the Derby preps, Jason. We're going to start to get into some of those real – hey, we're 8 weeks away from the big day.
All right. Yeah, that's right. Thanks to everybody who made this possible, including trainer Bob Baffert for that clip, producer Luke Van Belkom, and of course, all the technical people, production people who make this show possible. For Chad Rosema, I'm Jason Portwando. Thanks, as always, for the company. We'll see you next week for another edition of Racing Around the World.